But without further musings from me, I want to introduce the founder and motivator for this entire project, Tammy from the Bird Conservancy of the Rockies. Tammy, it's been more than inspiring to work with you on the summit, and I really want to thank you for bringing us all together and the opportunity to hear from you about where we're at and what we're up to and why we're here. Thank you. You are on mute. Still on mute, sorry.
All right, can you hear me now?
Yeah, all right, thank you.
All right, thank you so much. And if anyone that knows me personally knows I'm technically challenged, so I thought that was the right way to start my presentation. I did want to thank Monica, Matt, and Alejandro for setting the stage and the spirit that we're here together for. So it's been quite a journey, a little emotional because it's been a long process to get here. So thank you, everyone. And as we kick this off, I really want to provide context. There's a lot of initiatives going on out there for grasslands, anywhere from the North American Bird Conservation Initiative to the Association of Fish and Wildlife Agencies, to Partners in Flight, to the 3 Billion Birds Science Paper, to the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation, joint ventures, and just many of you on the call today and beyond. And this summit is really meant to complement these initiatives and get us working better together to save our grasslands. So we appreciate that you've all been on a journey and you're adapting as our world has changed. And we just look forward to charting the course forward as a collaborative, diverse community to conserve the people, places, water, wildlife, and heritage of our grassland landscapes. And I just really want to set the tone that we need to, these next few weeks, listen, share, be open to thinking differently about how we work, how we think, how we act. Let's be respectful. As they say, be a good owl, be a good listener. And obviously there's several partners and support that has made this journey possible. The presenting sponsors of the Knobloch Family Foundation and ConocoPhillips for their leadership investment that really helped put the meat on the bones, as well as several strategic conversations with so many partners. And just to name a few, including the Fish and Wildlife Service Region 6 office, Canadian Wildlife Service, Oaks and Prairies Joint Venture, Audubon Rockies, and so many others. And we've been very fortunate to get a lot of investment and support at the different levels, from platinum to gold to silver and scholarship. And this includes a wonderful mix of states, industry, foundations, and non-governmental organizations. And we have several partners that are also supporting, from the Fish and Wildlife Service to the Forest Service, Bureau of Land Management, and Canadian Wildlife Service. And we have additional supporters that will be coming on, as we are very optimistic that we can all come together in person as a community next year. And obviously this was a team effort. That's the point. It takes a team to get us where we need to go. So we really wanted to be inclusive and diverse. We have 26 planning partners that have worked over the last year to help pull the summit together, representing 8 sectors, including non-government organizations, state, federal, academia, indigenous, industry, foundations, and private landowners. And also this represents 3 countries, the Canada, US, and Mexico. So thank you. Also, we should really do a call out to Matt. He's been an amazing facilitator, very flexible, very adaptable, and very resilient as we've moved forward. So thank you, Matt, with Rocky Mountain Innovation Lab. So why are we here? What are we up to? As you're aware, grassland conservation is complicated. And if you think about from the soils to the water, to the wildlife, and to the human communities. And there's a lot of wonderful initiatives, organizations, and partners working on grassland conservation. But the reality is, in many cases, our efforts are going in different directions. Sometimes it's creating more noise. Our efforts are not adding up to make the cumulative impacts we need to do to change the direction that we're heading in our grasslands. And we're seeing some duplication and some overlapping efforts. So ultimately, what we really want to do is come together, get on the same page, and be more effective and efficient for our grasslands and our communities. And this is the World Wildlife Fund plow print map. And if you look at this, the bright green are our grasslands, the darker brown are the cultivated land, and then you see splatterings of yellow. Those are our urban and rural centers. And recognize that this landscape pattern is duplicative in Canada and Mexico. So just wanted to provide that sense of place and what the landscape looks like out there. And it is a working landscape, and it is very dynamic, ever changing. And it's a landscape that's producing grass for cattle production, crops for food and human consumption, energy, and it also supports human and wildlife communities. So as we think over these next several weeks, ultimately, how do we keep grass side up? How do we minimize conversion in a landscape that is predominantly privately owned and also honoring property rights? How do we grow crops with less inputs that support more biodiversity? How do we address depleted aquifers? We're also running out of water for agriculture, for wildlife, and for our human communities. And how do we ensure resiliency in a changing climate? We have policies that promote conservation in one area and conversion in others. So how do we address these conflicting pieces? And how do we support diverse communities and cultures? At the end of the day, it's a human-centered approach, and humans are going to lead the way to solutions. So there's many markers out there indicating that what we're doing is not sustainable. We're exceeding the capacity of the land. From not only the land, to the birds, to other wildlife, to aquifers, the system is stressed. And the indicators are clear. Many of you have heard of the state of the birds and the 3 billion birds lost. 1 in 4 of those 3 billion birds lost in the last 50 years are grassland birds. 750 million, and they call this area home. We're on average annually losing 2 million acres of grassland habitat. So many things are in decline, from our birds to our grassland acres, to our mammals, to our pollinators, to our native plants. And also our rural communities and our indigenous communities are suffering and having sustainability challenges. So the challenges are diverse. The reality is no one entity or organization can save our grasslands. It requires a collaborative movement. So how do we flock together better? And as we think over these next few weeks and work, what new approaches, innovative ideas are needed in science, policy, and partnerships? What's working that we need to do more of and have it scale up? And how do we make sure it's relevant at the community and local level? What isn't working and what should we just stop doing? How do we get a commitment across the sectors and countries to change the trajectory? And how do we move the roadmap into action once we develop it? And as you think about success, what success looks like by us flocking together is we have healthy wildlife, we save our water, aquifers, our grasslands, we soften the footprint like Monica was talking about, become more resilient for the changing landscape and climate ahead, and we ultimately save our natural and our cultural heritage. So as you dive in with us, think, work together, be open, be respectful, embrace change, and focus on solutions. And ultimately, we need to check our egos and our logos at the door. Let's get on the same page, headed in the same direction together. So let's set that course, a heading that gets us all oriented in the same direction, that same highway, with our efforts, instead of running over each other, merging together. Let's set the stage, get the steps, actions, and those measurable milestones out there, and let's hold ourselves accountable to setting the course and committing to it for at least the next 10 years. We have to commit through the work we do, for what we fund and invest in, to make it an achievable plan, and we all have to be ambassadors for it. So we're part of the landscape, critical part of the solution to saving the people, places, and natural resources we love. So thank you. I'm excited for the journey ahead. And I'll turn it over to Arvind.